this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Ortonville Village Council, Monday, March 24th, 7 a.m.
7 a.m.?
No way.
7 p.m.,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be here.
If it was a DDA meeting, it would be 7 a.m., right, Bob? And a few others. We could now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd be happy to lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That takes care of that. Secretary, if I could have a roll call, please.
Quisenberry.
Here.
Nivell.
Here.
Brooks is with notice. Green.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Falkland.
Here.
That completes roll call. Approval of the agenda. It has 13 items. Looks pretty much standard to the ones we see most often.
I make a
And-
motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, and those are, any discussion on that? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This is the agenda for tonight's meeting. The approval of the council minutes. This council met on February the 24th, 2025, and in our packets is a copy of the minutes made out by Amber for our review, and if we choose to accept them, they will become official minutes of this meeting.
Motion to approve our regular minute meetings of February 24th, 2025. As presented.
Support.
Okay, any further discussion on the minutes? I hear none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are now official. Next is acceptance items. These are items that come before the village council on a regular course of business, and we like to make mention of them, and we like to let everybody know that they're available and they're aware they're available at the village office, but we don't necessarily vote on them. We just let you know that we're accepting them, and it's for everyone's personal knowledge, including council members. Part of the acceptance items today is the Planning Commission meetings of February 3rd and the DDA regular meeting minutes of February 24th. Those items are so accepted, and if anyone wants to make reference to them, they can do so at the village office. Next is approval of disbursements. This is the money that the village spends each month to pay off the people that do work for us. It includes a variety of things, mostly maintenance for DPW and other such expenditures, but we still have to pay everyone. We have a list with a lengthy list of items, and I had a chance to glance over them, and I didn't have any questions about it, but maybe somebody on the council might.
We need a motion first, so I will make a motion to approve our disbursements in the amount of $30,175.18 for the period ending at the end of February 2025.
Support.
Okay. Just so it's clear, we had some discussion last month about it. It kind of went from the middle of the month to the middle of the month, and he was going to correct that till it just covered the whole month. Is that where we're at now with this?
That's what it looks like with
Okay.
this one. I
Yeah.
noticed the last disbursement was on
Okay.
February 26th.
So we will start to see some similarities then as we move forward. So moved and supported. Roll call vote, please.
Well, are there any questions? Did you have questions on it?
Oh,
Well, that's why
Well, he made
so
the
we need
motion,
motion, now we can discuss.
now we can discuss it. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't have any
And I didn't hear who, I
okay, I thought you
didn't, I
did.
didn't care.
No, I
didn't
just
hear
said
who
we need a
supported it.
motion before we can discuss, that's all.
Okay, moved and supported. And is there discussion on the expenditures?
The only discussion I have is a follow-up on the salt that we used to help that one apartment building.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a bill going out.
Okay, yeah, I know that was all, I just wanted to follow up.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of times the village does do things, and then we pay, and then we seek reimbursement.
Yeah.
As often as we can, anyway.
I know, but I still see a
Yeah,
decent
but
amount.
sometimes we take it, the wrong way, or we take it.
Well, and Bob also has me stock up too before our next contract. So like, for example, our contract with Detroit Salt said I was going to use 300 tons. So I actually went over that by 150.
Was that because of the apartment?
More ice storms than we thought, but not the apartment, but they're still getting a big bill amongst other things besides just salt.
Thank you.
And we send bills out to the township sometimes for extra work we do and things like that. So it's always our hope to get reimbursed when we spend village money on something that isn't specifically a village need. But it's the good neighborly thing to do, I suppose. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Okay, if I could have a roll call vote, please?
Mybelt,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Ballmer,
Yes.
President.
Yes. Okay, we paid our bills for this month. That takes us down to item 8, which is public comments. That's when people that have joined us here at the village council meeting have an opportunity to speak to the council if they have anything they would like to address to us. They may do so. I see a hand in the back, and yes, sir, you may come up here if you don't mind. And if you don't mind, just tell us your name.
I'm Mike Wizanitis, live at 169 Village Court.
What's the last name on the website?
Wizanitis, Wizyanitys.
Should have just said common spelling.
Mike
You know,
Wiz.
that would've-
That's what I go by my whole life. So,
And your address again was what?
169 Village Court.
Oh, okay, top of the hill?
Yeah, and that's why I'm here, because Village Court's in really bad condition. And I just wanted to, talk about it a little bit. I don't know if any of you have been down there. There was a problem, maybe that was what you were talking about with salt. The road we've got a couple places where it's not even pavement anymore, it's going to dirt. And, a couple years ago, when you guys paved Mill Street, somebody on the staff told us they were going to pave our road, and then later they came back and said, well, we don't have enough money in the budget, so we're only going to go to the first apartment's driveway and we're going to stop. And, here we are a few years later, and it's getting worse and worse, and just wanted to bring it up and talk a little. I don't know what can be done, but we're hoping that at some point, it's in your guys' budget
Sure.
or something to do something with
Well,
it.
Idea where the budget is.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's gonna come up later in our meeting,
Oh.
because we have some other road issues that are gonna come up. But that's actually gonna be part of it as well. Maybe not that one specifically, but just how the council's gonna prioritize road projects for the remainder of this year and also into next year.
Okay.
And to further your problem, I've come to find out that there's also been a water leak
Yeah.
next to one of the apartment buildings.
Absolutely.
That has caused some serious erosion to not only to the property, but through the roadway and then right on down like water does.
Yeah.
And I know that has a lot to do with, I believe that whole complex is now under some sort of new ownership.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And so am I. Silverside, Silver Lake, Silver,
I don't know their name. I just know it's sold.
okay.
Yeah.
They're the new owners or managers of that property. And they're gonna have, they're gonna be responsible, I'm sure, for some of that repair work. Because even though it might be on their private property, and it does encroach on the villages, and it does deteriorate a lot of our infrastructure. And for that reason alone, we would like to make some sort of a arrangement where village doesn't have to foot the whole bill.
Sure.
And they kick in for some of those repairs.
Yeah. So is there an idea that maybe at least a couple of the really bad areas are going to get patched?
Well,
There's an area in front of his place, it's 6 by 6, and it's dirt.
I can just say this, the village manager is taking this very important. And he
Okay.
and Bob Hawkswell last week got in the truck and spent an hour. And they went down every single street within this village limits. And what they did is it was a serious assessment.
Okay.
With a notebook and a notepad and, okay, what condition is this road in? What condition is that road in? What needs something immediate
Sure.
and what can wait? And what can just be fixed with coal patching or hot patching, or what just needs to be,
Cut
tore
out
up
and
start
done again.
over.
Sure.
So I don't know the results of their findings yet, but I could be certain, I've heard it mentioned enough, that yours is one of the.
One of 'em,
One of the
okay.
ones I hear the most about.
All
How
right.
about that? If,
All right.
Is there a budget for roads?
Well, we have 2 road budgets. We have major streets and village streets. And we get some money from the state based on gasoline taxes and other things that get kicked back to us for doing maintenances on some of the local roads and major roads. But then most of the cost of that ends up being part of the village's yearly annual budget. So we have to decide once a year, and it's coming up soon. I think it's in in April, we're gonna have a budget workshop, and then in June, we approve next year's budget. And that's where these items we set that money aside.
So we should pay attention to the meetings for the next little while, because there'll be some answers to maybe
We
the
should
questions.
always pay attention to these
Well,
meetings.
but.
They are so much fun.
Yeah,
I mean, there is not a sitcom on right now that would,
I'm a civil engineer. I go and stand before boards like this every month. So I'm familiar. I just wanted
well,
to,
I mean, keeping in contact is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Whether it be attend a meeting or,
but this particular issue is one that's going to
You
get
brought-
talked
we've
about,
had
and
yours
that's the
brought
point
up
I'm
in
getting at.
particular.
yeah, you're,
Ken, if I could add a little
Yeah,
some
go right
information
ahead.
for these folks here. One thing, because I've been involved with the village many years, and I'm aware of our road conditions. What they were doing is something called a PACER survey. That's to evaluate the condition of the roads. We had one done several years ago, and we discussed that we needed to update it, and that's what Bob and our village manager were doing, is going around updating the condition of the roads according to our last PACER. Just another piece of information, average cost to repave a 1-mile section of road is somewhere between $1 and $2 million, and we have roughly 11 miles of roads in the village, so if you do the math, you can see this is a huge undertaking to try to get all of our roads fixed up. And so the best we can do is just try to rate those, prioritize them, and we can only pick a little piece off at a time, unfortunately. And, in the items from trustees, I will give some more updates about some information I heard at the recent SEMCOG conference, so.
Right.
appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
But,
So who has the ultimate decision?
what do you mean? On the budget?
And I have
The
your
condition of the road?
Yeah,
My
if
name?
you want to get up
Oh,
and speak,
excuse me.
please.
Yeah, come on up.
Oh, you want a name on it?
Yeah.
I'm Trushan. I'm at 161 Village Court, so.
what?
Trushan. Truchan.
What address?
161 Village Court.
Okay, your question is who gets to decide, and you're talking to the right 7 people.
So, I mean, you go out and look at those roads, you 7 people?
I mean, we all drive them, we all live in the village, so we're all aware. But the people that make those decisions are the village manager and the DPW director, who know far more about road
Yeah, well, I
construction
would
than I
assume,
know.
I would assume that they would carry a lot of weight.
They do.
As far as,
Their recommendations weigh heavily on how we decide.
and you basically just decide because of the amount of money, or,
Well, we pick out how much money we have, and then we prioritize, like Larry had mentioned.
all right, I've been on Village Court now for 9 years.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, you've had so many managers, and all the managers, I've had 2 or 3 managers say that we were next in line to get Village Court done. So,
Well, we've had the same DPW director for about almost 20 years now, and he's the person who
yeah, and I
we
know,
rely
you're
on
talking
way
about
more.
Bob?
Talking about Bob.
Yeah,
And we
okay.
rely on his opinion far more than the village managers, who don't drive him every day.
Well, of course, I don't talk to Bob, I go talk to the village manager.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So, that's what I said,
Information
but
filters down as
There's
we.
been so many managers, I just wondered exactly,
Okay, well,
How-
we don't know that. And
If I can also help clarify this a little bit, we have what's called a capital improvement plan, and things like infrastructure projects, like road improvements, are supposed to feed into the capital improvement plan. Now, the capital improvement plan takes input from our village manager and Bob, and then they will feed that into the capital improvement plan to plan out what road will get fixed in which year. And I know right now the Planning Commission is starting to take a look at our current capital improvement plan. So the Planning Commission right now is looking at that very question about which roads should be prioritized and should be the next ones on the list to be done. So the Planning Commission has that piece for providing the capital improvement plan. Ultimately, the village has to approve the actual budget to go towards each of those projects in the capital improvement plan.
okay, so we're talking about Village Court. Now, do we have funds to do anything this year?
maybe, maybe not. You know,
Minimal.
like I mentioned, we do our workshop next month in April. We're going to find out exactly how much income the village has via tax collection and grants and such from the state and gas tax money that we're going to have. From that, we then divide it up into all our
Okay.
different categories of spending. And road improvements is certainly one of the bigger ones. Let's just call it capital improvements. You know, things like, water drainage and ditches and other things that are capital improvements. They all just go into this hopper, and then we have to prioritize them and spend accordingly. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, hey, your road's gonna get paved this June.
That's what I'm not asking you that.
Okay.
You know, you've told me that it has been discussed.
Well-
I'm only asking is, do we have funds possibilities for this year?
Possibilities are yes.
Yes.
But before you or your partner spoke, I mentioned to you that everyone on this council has heard and is aware of your problem. So this is not the first time we're hearing about Village Court. It's been talked about for quite some time.
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
So
I've
if
had
we all
many
sat here
managers
going,
tell
where's
me that,
Village
so-
Court? Then I could see where you'd be concerned that that we're not even aware. But we are not only aware, we're aware of the importance and to the people that live on it.
Okay, well, let me just say one, since I'm up here, you guys do a great job on winter, or on the roads in Ortonville. That's the only plus that I see, but I'd really like to see you start paving the petunia fields. I get sick and tired of watching these guys all summer long down on their hands and knees weeding and watering that stuff. Let's get realistic. So put that down on your,
It is, thank you. Okay, anybody else here? Yes, sir. Definitely state your name.
It's MC, capital A-R-T-H-U-R. Yeah. And it's very interesting, but I'm not going to touch all that, because the Planning Commission has dealt with that, and we know there's 3 roads that were number 1 on the list, and that was Narren, Edward Street, and Village Court. And it's definitely, and there's 2 of those that are very highly traveled, which is Village Court and Edward Street. Narren is not traveled nearly as much. I don't want to get onto that. You got enough problems with it. What I wanted to talk to you was that on Brandon Groveland Youth Assistance, the 24th of April is the youth recognition. And obviously, you're all invited. And
Where are you having it at, Bob?
we're going to have it at the PAC, in the auditorium
same?
at the high
Okay.
school. Yep.
Same time?
I'm sorry?
Thank
Time
you,
are
Shelby.
What time? Whatever time it was last
7:30.
year, was it 6:30 last
I
year?
think it's 6:30, I think.
Will I be getting an email for the certificate? Yes, it actually should have gone out today. But if you
Yep.
get it, I will make sure you get it. Thank you.
Yep. Nope, just want to make sure you know you're all invited, and it is a big night. I think we're up well over almost 50 kids that are going to get recognized, and they've changed that. You know, the new committee has changed that. In years past, they might do 100, 200 kids, take forever. Those are now separated off. The kids that are getting recognized have done something a little more spectacular. Other kids because there's quite a few that get recommended, but the other students or kids will receive something in class, a certificate from us recognizing whatever they did. So it is a really good program, and thank you.
Thanks very much, and your efforts in that are certainly recognized. In the audience today, we can move right along.
Hello. My name is Laura Fromwiller. I'm the director of the Brandon Township Library. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I have another invitation for you. On April 26th from 11 to 1 at the library, we will be celebrating Miss Fran's 50th year with the library. She's actually been there longer than that. She was a volunteer before that, so she's actually, so the 50 paid years is what she's calling it. So
Wow, she probably read the first book.
she probably did. So she's been with us for a long time. We're very proud of her, and we're happy to celebrate her, and I hope you can join us.
Well, thank you for the
Thank you.
invitation, and maybe
That's
put those in our
incredible.
notes for, we have this on the 24th and this on the 26th, so.
11 to 1. It's a Saturday. Thank you.
and
Thank you.
Amber, if you don't mind, send out an email to us with reminders of those 2 dates. I scribble on my agenda when people come in and make comments here and there, but they don't always last forever.
Are you having the shred in the library? I know it's not sponsored by you, but the shred day?
We are, I would have to get a date.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right.
Okay, great. Anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Okay, that takes us past public comments, and it takes us to items from trustees, and I'll start down at Larry's end, and he can go first.
Okay. First item I'd like to talk about is that I did attend the recent SEMCOG General Assembly. While I was there, I did have a nice opportunity to sit down with Amy O'Leary, the Executive Director of SEMCOG, and I talked to her, asked her a little bit about some news I heard from the Governor's office, and this goes back to the roads. Just to share a little bit with the members of the audience, our road situation here, trying to fix our local roads, has been hindered by the governor's efforts to fix the state roads because it has driven up the cost of materials and contractors. The governor has announced she would like to have a second phase of Fix the Roads, and this one is supposed to be targeted more at local streets and communities. The SEMCOG executive director shared with me that so far that has passed the House in a version that will strongly support more local street improvements, which hopefully should help us find fundings to get the roads fixed around here, but she also cautioned me that it still has to pass the Senate, and the Senate may try to divert some of that funding back to MDOT or other areas other than the local streets. So if you want, reach out to your senators at the State House, at the State Senate, and urge them to please try to keep the money for the local communities if you can. Another item I'd like to talk about is just with spring cleanup coming up, and this is a topic I've raised before. We know that everybody's going to want to be doing their yard work and cleaning things up, and this brings up the topic about our burn ordinances and burning in the village. With the open burning, I expect that we will have a lot of people wanting to burn leaves and such, which makes smoky fires that unfortunately will impact or can impact everyone in the community. So I think that it's time for us as a village to reach out and try to make sure that we are coordinating with the township, because currently the fire department is only enforcing the township ordinance for open burning. There's a separate village ordinance for open burning that they are not following, and the two are quite different in terms of the exact terms of the ordinances and stuff. So I think that we need to reach out to the township, try to work together to try to get our two ordinances aligned, with maybe some exceptions for the village, such as that, for example, I think everybody in the village must follow the burn calendar regardless of the size of the lot. That's an exception within the township that I don't think we can afford in the village due to our small compact size. So that's something I would like to have us think about following up with the township at this time of year, if that's okay.
It's certainly okay with me. Tony?
IT committee doesn't have anything to report this month.
Thank you for that. Melanie?
Okay, so to go off a little bit of what Larry was speaking about, the House, it's the 2025 House Road Package for city and villages. And yeah, this could be significant for us. So we're going to be following this. There's actually 9 bills that the House passed, but like Larry said, it's now going to go to the Senate. So I know I already reached out to some of the representatives, but if the more we can get the public and residents to do so, the better. It would be approximately, I think, 145% increase, which we are so limited here. I mean, when you have just over $700,000 to work with, it's over $1 million, about 1.5 for a mile. It's very hard to try and stretch those dollars. So this would be significant for us. The total package is $3.1 billion. So I do think they will be tweaking it, and they will be asking for it to be changed somewhat. But I really do think we have some very good chances to get this allocated to village and cities, because we are always overlooked, and you have to wait till we're done. So that's 9 bills. Please pay attention to that. And you can get that off for council members. MML has all the information on that to follow along with those. I took a lot of webinars. I won't go over them all, but I did forward all the Open Meetings Act information to all of you. Planning Commission is working on an emergency snow parking ordinance and short-term rental ordinances, so those will be coming down the pike. We also have a recommendation that will be for another planning commissioner, and we'll be talking about that later on the agenda. I will be working with the township on their BESS ordinance. We have our first meeting coming up in April.
On their what?
BESS, their battery, it's for renewable energy. And Planning Commission is also working on our CIP. We started doing that, and we're sending information in, as well as all of us have to remember to send in our budget priorities as well. And I attended a September Fest meeting that really there's no update. No decisions have been made. It was just a meeting of more networking, I think, and trying to get more information. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Alex?
Sure, so I did attend the September Fest meeting as well. They did bring up again the street closure signs that I know you sent an email out previously talking about, and I just kind of want to follow up about more signs for our street closures, do not enter signs, things like that. They kind of really brought up. I also have been working with some outside sponsors and some brands and help bringing in some sponsorships for some of the events. I brought them some proposals and things like that, so I'm kind of waiting to hear back on that. I attended a film office meeting because we are trying to bring a film incentive back to the state of Michigan. It has worked its way up in the Senate and things like that, and things look good. So that's really all I have to have.
And so it was passed by House?
It's been passed by House. It's been held up a little bit
Okay.
on the other side. So we had a meeting about how to try and talk to those people. And things.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Get it past the finish line.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Kay?
I also attended the September Fest meeting, and a lot of the decisions have already been made about everything, so.
Okay, interesting, but you're right, those big committee meetings like that, it sounds like 3 of the 7 of us were at that meeting. One
We-
more and you'd have had to cancel it.
But there was 4 from
posted as an
our
open
council that attended the one, and then you weren't at the last September Fest, but at the one prior to that, because Linda, me, you, and Alex were there. So there's a good representation from the village.
Right.
Were you at, you weren't at that
No,
one?
I had to work.
So, yeah, that would have been another one, so.
Lots of committee
so,
meetings going on.
Yeah, well, hopefully, there's.
Hopefully they get us somewhere.
I
You know,
mean, we're supporting and we're trying to be part of.
No, you guys are, honestly,
So we're hoping that they're open to that.
we were
yes.
complaining a lot about having little or no involvement, and it sounds like, at least with some of these committee members and people that are attending, that we're at least getting that much and get a voice heard. Not that it's gonna change anyone else's mind, but it's important to do that. Thank you very much. That takes care of the items from trustees. Luckily for us, item 10 is unfinished business, and this council is just so darn efficient, we don't have any unfinished business to talk about tonight. But we do have a lot of new business to cover, and that's the next one. And it's the Planning Commission, and it's the appointment of Scott
Thank
Zimmer.
you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's the appointment of Scott Zimmer to the Planning Commission. And Scott, you're here. If you don't mind, I'd like you to come up and introduce yourself to the rest of the council.
Okay, before he gets started, can I give you some little information?
Oh,
I'd love it.
Do you want to do
Yeah.
it? Okay.
If you want to do an intro, that's even better.
Yeah, okay, I had some information to talk about them too, so.
Yeah, well, you're gonna
Yeah.
get built up really high here, Scott, so you might not, sometimes going first would have been better off, but
Well, I didn't know you were going that quick into it. Okay.
But I just wanted to let you know how it all started and where the recommendations come from. Pete Burkett, who is, they've done work with Pete and they're friends. Pete made a conversation with him and suggested that we look at him for the planning commission and that he was interested. We had a meeting with the village manager, myself, and Scott, just in the office, going over the planning commission, what it's about, letting him know the ups and downs of the whole thing. And he filled us in on his ability and his knowledge of buildings and his true interest of the village and letting it move forward. He's been here for quite a few years now, and he definitely would like to see improvements go along in the village. And with that, I'll give you back to Scott or anybody else.
Well, Scott, before you go, I would like Melanie to add.
I'm just going to add on to what Bob was saying. Just a few things so you know, this, for some of you who haven't met him in person, but we had the old mill blacksmith shop. They were painted. This was the gentleman that did that. He also did the steeple on the school.
And the
correct?
school.
Edward Jones Building, and has worked for various citizens, but you've been very involved with especially the historical side of the village. So, yeah, so you may not know his face, but that is who has been doing all that work, yeah. That's all I wanted to say. You got to sell yourself now.
Well, no, you don't. You've already been sold, and I'm sure your approval is going to be unanimous. But I was just going to have you introduce yourself and just say a sentence or two about what makes you interested in the planning commission.
Well, I like the fact of being involved in Ortonville. I live in Church Street. I took my old house, I redid it, took the vinyl out, brought it back to historical. I started with historicals. Granted, I do a lot of speedways. I do a lot of stuff for Rising Construction, Mike Riddle. I've done work for Pete and Jane. I've done Blake's Place, the pub. I put a lot of heart and soul into my place. Each core was like 2 hours. So I just feel like I have a lot I can contribute. I have integrity. And I just think I could make, be a good voice.
Well, citizen involvement is what keeps us ticking. Without it, we wouldn't get anywhere. So I'm appreciative. I've, of course, known you for at least 3 or 4 years now, maybe even longer. We can go back, but no,
Right.
I've known you for a while,
Right.
and I see your commitment to the village, and that's really what it takes.
Right.
Your knowledge is obviously an asset to the planning commission, but it's just that plain commitment to the village itself, because we all learn as we go, and
Absolutely.
you can contribute, I'm sure, right out of the gate, and then learn and make the planning commission and the village a better place.
Absolutely.
So with that, what I'd like to do is, you are on our agenda to be appointed, but this board does have to approve that appointment. So if there is a motion to do so,
Make a motion to approve Scott Zimmer as the new planning commission appointment.
Support?
okay, moved and supported, and we've got to hear from 3 people on Scott's behalf, and actually 4 because I spoke a little too. But if anybody else has any questions before we put this to a vote? Okay, thank you. I'd like to make this a roll call vote.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Falker,
Yes.
Nivell.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Scott, you're a new member.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I don't know when your next meeting is, but I'm sure that the folks in this building will make sure that you know where and when
Absolutely.
you need to be next. And thanks so much for taking time off on a Monday.
I actually
join
worked today. Actually, Sean worked with me.
Well, see, there, okay, well, good to know, and I'd like to welcome you aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you for stepping up. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love this town.
Okay. We got a few matters to go over, and again, you're welcome to stay, but you don't necessarily have to, because it can get, who knows? We can sometimes go off the rails, that's all. Not today, though. Special events, and we have 3 of them in our packets. I actually only had 2, but I did receive the 3rd tonight. And they all are ones that I believe we have approved in the past, with the exception of the Rooting for You, and this is a project that you're involved with?
Yes, if I may.
Actually, if you may, I'm turning it straight over to you.
Thank you.
Because I don't know much about it.
Yes, so I have a production company, and I am filming a commercial for a law office. The law office commercial requires us to do a special effects shot of a car crash. We're not actually doing a car crash. We just need to simulate a couple things. I need to be able to put a film crew in the middle of a road. I figured, why not bring some money here to the end into the village by spending some money at the pub after we wrap, because it's our last day of filming, and things like that. Spend some money at the Mexican restaurant for our lunch. Give some money to our Oakland County, because we are using barriers and shutting down the road like we asked. We did get approval from that. I have gone around to the local businesses and I've asked for their support. No issues on their end. I do plan on putting a letter to the residents that live upstairs above those businesses, just to let them know I do plan on shutting it down for 4 hours. But yeah, it's really just for safety for myself, my crew. It's something we can do in other cities and townships and things like that, but I figure bring it here, bring the money here.
I'm
What
supportive.
is the time of day?
So it's
I didn't know if that was on
4
here.
p.m. 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday.
there it is.
On
4 to
so
8.
I know that Saturday during the day is the Winterfest. So they end at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and so right after that, we would be shutting that road down in that intersection.
And the date was?
The 12th.
The 12th. What does it conflict with? The Winterfest?
It doesn't really conflict, it's just the same time.
It's the winter market.
Oh.
Oh,
So
That's
on
on
Say,
it's gonna be after instead of.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
That's mostly like in the old town hall and then in the businesses.
Yeah, my goal was to also rent out the town hall that day as well, to kind of keep my production crew there and try to get some more money in there, but they had it rented out that day. So,
What did you find for Plan B?
I'm actually gonna reach out to Etta Burton house, the
Yeah.
senior home, because it's really actually closer to my house, so.
Masons also rents their space out,
Okay,
which
Masons?
is right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
just-
good to know.
And they have a
behind
full
us.
kitchen,
Great.
so you might want to
Yeah,
check with them.
yeah, if you guys have any concerns or anything, I can definitely answer it. I had a meeting today, kind of finalizing a few things, so.
So the, I just want to, so the police thing is the only thing that, would be something that, so would recommend a bypass for residents. What is he recommending?
So I think I gave them an option. Yeah, go ahead.
Should I connect to
Okay,
that one?
yeah, please.
So on the, map on the back, for some reason.
Okay.
the office was thinking it was gonna be North Church and Mill Street, so that's where he was suggesting the bypass. But everything that Alex is gonna be doing will be movable in case there is an emergency, so they can still get through in a zippy quick kind of fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why Glover and Office approved.
Just a quick question, do we already have a motion on this yet, or are we just starting discussion?
He was explaining his,
I was giving.
I had him explain it.
Okay.
Here's what I can tell you is, when I talked to the village manager before he left town, we put it on the agenda so that we could actually discuss it and vote on it at the same time. So this is not our one and only chance to vote on it. We can always table
Well,
it
I
if we
mean,
want. But because it's already
technically,
previously on
normally we
the
have the
agenda.
motion
Well,
first and
I'll
then the
make a motion
discussion.
that we
Yeah.
approve this special event, thank you. I'm rooting for you, LLC.
Support.
For April 12th from 4 to 8 p.m.
Support.
Moved and supported, and Alex, to my liking, you've answered all the questions that I had, and it's one of these things where I wish you nothing but the best and success in this type of thing. And it might lead to other such opportunities for the village and for you in particular. So you certainly have my support, but it's moved and supported. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure Alex can answer them. If not, I
Yeah,
would
I
like
do
to.
have a concern about that. Sorry about raising the point about the motion, those darn Roberts rules, But we do try to be
absolutely.
above board here. Yeah, the concern I have is that according to our special event permit, we are supposed to have events permits submitted no less than 60 days prior to the event. And I'm looking at the dates on here. It was received on February 24th for an event on April 12th, and it states in our cover to the packet that applications submitted less than 60 days will not be considered. My only concern with approving this here is because Alex is a sitting council member. If we approve this and we're not following the less than 60 days, it could give the appearance that we're favoring his event because of the connection to the council. And so that would be my main concern with approving this when it did not meet the 60-day requirement.
And
Okay,
I
well-
thought that was, now that I look at it, I thought that was today's date, but that was, why did it get held up? Was it?
It got held up due to, one, the village being closed for a day, me securing the deposit for the actual job. 60 days is kind of hard in my industry to get that much of a
Right.
notice, especially on finalizing, so I did get it as soon as I could. I wish it would have been a couple days sooner, i.e. 3 to 4 days sooner, but due to them being closed on the Friday and then Saturday and Sunday, it was an issue to get in on the appropriate time.
And in general, Larry, to your point, we've been known to make exceptions on many of these just because of the circumstances that we may not know when we first receive it. So we do get that, because maybe it doesn't have police approval yet, but we approve it based on that coming forward.
Yeah.
And so I see no problem with the flexibility of, in this case, not having to stick to the exact number of days, because really, from this point forward, nothing's gonna change. We're either gonna approve it or not. And we're all welcome to vote no or yes, depending on our,
But in the film industry, you will never, ever get 60 days, ever. So if that's something that we'd like to have our community be a part of, then that's something we're gonna have to work with. Yeah, 60 days is a
Yeah.
luxury.
It is.
all right. And no further comments, roll call vote, please.
Hayden,
No.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Oh, should he have?
No.
Okay. Recused himself?
Mm-mm.
No, he can vote.
Okay.
no,
Yes.
I'm rooting for you, LLC. So,
Isn't
yes.
Definitely.
The motion passes
still
by a
has the-
5-1 margin.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. It moves us on to the next one, which is the Witches Night Out. We have a permit for that as well, and I would be looking for approval for that special permit. I'm sure we all had a chance to review it, so
Yep.
we can move forward with it.
Yeah, as long
And
as-
once it's moved and supported, if there is
I
discussion,
make a
we can
motion
hold
to
it.
approve the event request for Witches Night Out.
Support?
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the Witches' Night Out? I would just like to say that that's a DDA event. I think they're in year number 5, and it continues to gain support year after year after year. And I spoke with Matt Jenkins earlier today about some of the details of it, and the whole DDA is excited about it. He told me that he spoke with every single business owner who may be impacted by this, and that they were all in favor of it, because any of the impact they're going to have is going to be of a positive nature. So that's his words to me at 5 o'clock this afternoon. That being said, if there's no other,
Do you want to put
Just one
the
comment
date
on
in
that.
there?
Yeah.
Or a question, really. What were the hours last year? Does anybody remember?
Yeah, I do, because he told me. It changed by a half an hour. I think it's a half hour later now, because they had noon and some other time. He did tell me, and this is the truth of the fact, that they cover both ends a little bit sooner than they might actually do it, because they just don't want to get caught short and have to move it up instead of back. So you always give yourself a cushion if you can. He also tells me about that he's worked out with the CERT team that they have what's called a soft closure, which means that vehicles can be permitted through. It's just not a bunch of cars running through there and there. But a hard closure would be like what we do on Halloween, when darn it, the road's closed and then nobody coming down. But in a soft closure, they can be very flexible about who is permitted to travel down that road and for what reason, and they make that decision on the fly, but they want to cover their bases by putting in the allotted time so that they are able to make that decision on the day of.
I just couldn't remember. what it
Yeah,
was.
I couldn't either, and he had to tell me, so if you'd asked me yesterday, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, and I just would also like to add that, looking at the way the street closures are going to be, I do want to see that the event coordinates with the CERT team, and also make sure that the residents are very clearly notified, any that will be impacted, about what accommodations will be made so they can get in and out of their residences for those who live downtown, because that has been an issue in past events, Witches Night Out and Septemberfest and some others.
Well,
And so I just want to make sure that our residents aren't
Sure,
inconvenienced.
and it's not in writing on this form because there's probably no place for it, but Matt assured me today that they communicate very closely with the residents above,
Yep.
with those residents, because they need to get in and out as well, and they can't be restricted from access, so.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure our residents, are aware and that our CERT team can help
He
accommodate
assured me
their
that they are.
needs. Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, roll call on this one, please.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Our next special event permit, oh, that passes, by the way, 6-0. Our next special permit use is for Spring Garden. That's in our packet as well. And it looks like it met all the approvals of the appropriate people. And this seems like a simple one for the council to approve.
Make a motion to approve the spring garden event for the date of,
May 17th. May 17th from 9 to 2.
9 to 2.
Support?
Is there any further discussion on this one? It does seem to be sponsored by the DDA as well as the Friends of Amos, which is a subsidiary of and an active community
I have a
contributor.
question regarding the DPW. The 6 hours, what is our DPW doing for the 6 hours?
Don't know, that's what Bob said they need. Maybe they use half of it, or maybe they don't, but I wouldn't have a clue what they're gonna do during that time.
Okay. And these forms were made so that we could see the costs, and we never get the costs. So
Okay.
we really need to start getting better about these, and that's something we can talk about after the meeting.
Well, there is the cost on Alex's,
Correct.
Yeah, but there's not.
and then Witches Night Out, Glover didn't put it on there because they didn't say how many people yet.
Yeah, but that's just
That's just
Oakland
police.
County Sheriff cost.
Yep.
That's not our
Our
cost for
cost, so-
DPW
Yep,
labor and stuff.
There's many events that Sheriff's Department doesn't charge us for.
Yeah.
And
right.
who are we to?
Even if it's just the hourly and the
Who are-
hours
yeah.
are different, that's okay.
Who are we to
wanna know.
insist that we pay them
Exactly.
when they aren't even asking for it?
Are you talking about Bob's payroll? Because it depends on who ends up working, that's why he just
Yeah.
put.
Then put a range. Put a range of
We'll make sure Bob knows.
20 to 50, and, well, no, that's something that is something that the office does, because the office is supposed to be telling anyone that comes in to do a special event what the charges are going to be up front.
Well, we don't always charge it, that's the point.
And that's fine.
Okay, well then how is it
That-
fine?
That's fine, but then we need to know, no charge.
I don't know that until Glover will sign off on it, the chief will sign off on it, and so when they come in and hand it to me, I don't know, I can say $1 to $10,000.
All right, we'll talk about it after the
Yeah,
meeting.
okay. Any other discussion on the permit? Roll call vote, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Maribel,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. That takes care of all three of our special event permits for today. Moves us on to item E, which is a new fee schedule, and this has to do with inspections. I spoke briefly with the village manager about this before he left town, and he simply told me that he checked around with neighboring communities and wanted to bring us in par with what most people charge for inspections, being electrical or plumbing or whatever type of inspector you need. We charge that off, as well as permit fees to residents who are going to be doing work on their house, which require a permit. So those fees are going to increase. It's in our list. It's rather lengthy, and all I have to go on is that he said that we're now in par, and I can perfectly understand how we may not have raised our fees in 20-some years. So that being the case, I'm in favor of the new rate increase for inspectors.
So are you looking for a motion on this? Because there are
Yes,
some
I am.
things that I
Well-
have to talk about, but I'll do it after the motion then.
Or we just skip it and don't do it. You know, there has to be a motion if we're gonna act.
Okay, so we're doing right now the inspector, the contractor, number F, not
Well,
number E.
Well,
That's okay. So
Okay.
we're doing F, which, okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to increase our inspection rate for our inspectors from $40 to $55.
Support.
further discussion on the inspector, it's labeled new fee schedule. I got the one thing.
Yeah, I was wondering,
No,
are we
this
doing
one's
the
for
new
the
fee
inspector.
schedule or for the inspection?
well,
Yeah,
that's what I'm not looking
yeah,
at.
he skipped the one.
E,
So we're at, we actually just
think
did
they
F.
were out of order in the
Yeah, we
packet.
just did F, and we'll go back to E,
Yeah,
which is
okay.
the new fee schedule.
Okay.
So this is number F, or letter F, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I don't want to go out of order. Let's go back to E.
Then let's go
and
back
we'll-
to E.
right, Let's go
Okay.
back to
All
E.
right.
Let's go back
And
to
E
I rescind
is,
my motion.
okay. And
For now.
we have a rather lengthy, multi-page thing of a new fee schedule. My description of it is still the same. I think I described it quite well as keeping in par with other communities, and it shows a range of increases. We all got this in our packets, and it requires a motion to approve this and adopt it into the village charter.
Okay, if I may, so, Amber, if, please let me know if I'm correct or not. This is in line with the township's fees, okay. So it's, this is bringing us to, so we have a consistency, but, I do have a question though, Amber, like, in number 3, it's supposed to be 3 inspections, and so this one wasn't updated?
No, it's depending on the size, is what Jason informed me, so depending on the square footage, they might need concrete, so that would be where number 3 comes in.
Okay, so the things that we went over in the planning commission, none of those got, then updated, they're supposed to stay the same?
So this is not consistent with the planning commission?
It's,
No, there were a couple of tweaks, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, well, this is confusing the matter, because those of us not on the planning commission don't really know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Nor do I, and I'm going to recommend that this isn't
Maybe we
necessary that
table
it be
this.
passed today
No,
anyway.
it's
Item
just
E is going to
about-
be tabled for
Okay,
now. We
that's
won't have a
fine.
motion or vote on it
All
until
right.
we get clarification, because I'm not certain what we're even talking about.
Oh,
I'm really not.
it was one question about 3 inspections, so
Okay.
that's
But
fine.
You were
Let's-
privy to
let's-
information, and you and Bob and the planning commission were, and we were
I'm
just
trying-
given this in our packet.
Right.
And I don't want to try to learn it right now. I just don't. I want to take
Oh,
the time it takes.
And that's fine.
I want to
But
take
if I
the
put
time it
3
takes to go through
inspections
it.
in there, are all of you going to learn it any better than what you have tonight?
I'll ask some right people that I trust.
Okay, very
So
good.
I won't learn it, and maybe I won't learn it any better. And I can vote just as uninformed a month from now as I
Yeah,
can right now.
I'm with you, all right.
I make a motion that we table this Ortonville Village building permit fee schedule until next meeting.
Support.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it takes us to item F, so we stay in order. It's the contractor pay increase, which is its own separate sheet. And that also was passed on to me by the village manager, that this was in keeping in pace with everybody else.
I make a motion to approve the contract, the contractor pay increase from $40 to $55.
Support.
Any further discussion?
What was the motion again, please? What did you write down?
It's to increase the, inspector pay from
Okay.
40 to $55.
Okay, I thought I read something, all right. I can vote now, thank you.
That's spending money, so roll call, please.
Nidal,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Walker.
Yep.
Quisenberry.
Yes. All right, contractors get a $15 increase. Takes us to item G, Narren Street vote. This is something that we're going to be required to vote on today. It's controversial, and I want to try to frame it as best I can, then we can have a discussion on it. We had Oakwood Street, we applied for a grant for a sidewalk on Oakwood Road. We went through some studies with Rowe Engineering, and it turned out we couldn't it wasn't going to work for us, especially the amount of grant money that we were given, which was about $60,000. Please don't hold me to any of these amounts. I'm just going off of my memory from the past. We then decided to divert that money, because that project wasn't going to work, to a Narren Road project. As I recall, our previous manager, Ryan, laid out several different possibilities for Narren Street, and I was never really clear what section of Narren he was talking about. Either it was from the section from M15 where Blackhawk Auto is, all the way up to First Impressions, or was it from there to Myron Road, or, as I was led to believe, it was to continue Narren Road up past the storage area so that there could be a sidewalk put in that would give access for the village people to get to Beekys through a back way. And that was one of the possibilities as well. I actually never knew how this thing progressed, other than we lost that grant money, as well as $30,000 of it that we had previously paid to the engineer to do Oakwood Road. And now we're at a choice where we have $30,000 left that he had reappropriated to us to do Narren Road from Blackhawk Auto to First Impressions. It's a horrible section of road, and I suggest we move forward, but it requires this vote to approve that we take the remaining $30,000 in grant money, as well as kick in $100,000 of our own money to make that project come through. That's as best as I can frame this. So
And if we don't do it.
if we don't do it, that money's gone tomorrow
lost
morning.
money
Yeah,
anyways, it was 60,000, right?
we're gonna lose 30. We're gonna lose 30 that we already spent, and we're gonna not get 30 that we could get. So we're giving back. We're giving back 30,000.
The 30 that we previously spent, that didn't come out of the small urban grant?
I don't know where it came from. It's just, it was part of that grant to do Oakwood Road.
Okay, so it did come out of that
Yeah,
grant?
yes.
Okay, so we really didn't spend that, that's why I was getting confused. So we have 30 of that grant.
We have 30 remaining
Okay.
that we can put towards
Yep.
Narren Road. And we
Yep.
can't change the study now, because the
No, no,
engineering
no.
for it's already been done, and we would be starting from scratch. Now, back to our road issue that we had. It's not that long of a stretch. We've got a lot invested in it so far, especially when you think of the time of 2 years of kicking this thing around, like we've just been kicking this thing around and around. And it's my opinion that we proceed with it, even though it's like eating something you really don't like very well. But
Well,
there's another, hold on, there's another word for that, and I just won't use it because
Thank you.
No.
because that's just a story. But I will say this, there's 3 ways to get into this town, and one is to turn at the A&W, the other is this branch off that comes into town via that cut-through that we're talking about repaving, and the other is to go up to the light and where Jet's Pizza is. And this does, in my opinion, alleviate some of the traffic that would normally turn right at Jet's Pizza to turn right off on this wing that would take you up to Mill Street. So, and it is a way into the village, so some people coming into the village, that would be their, that might be the first road that they encounter, who knows? Which is different than maybe some other roadways that don't get that much traffic. But in the afternoons, especially evening traffic, a lot of people coming into Ortonville get off on that. It's in horrible shape. We've already gone 3/4 of the way of getting this project done. We just have to vote to either do it. But if we don't do it, we save $100,000 and we can put that somewhere else. So according to the village manager, he doesn't have a horse in this race, and he didn't care which way we went. He just said this has to be voted on today. Has to be. Because otherwise, this is never going to happen. So we either approve this project to continue, we call Roe, or she calls Roe tomorrow and says the council voted and they can move forward, because they're ready to pull the money off the table if we don't tell them yay or nay. So, and I understand their
I make a motion to approve the project to pave Narren Street from Blackhawk's Auto up to Mill Street using the previously allocated grant money and the rest coming from village resources.
Support.
Okay, I'm really glad there's a motion on the floor, because I did all the talking up till now.
Yeah.
And I would
And-
like other people to get a chance to talk as well, because we all have a lot at stake in here. And when it comes to doing talks, seriously, I think everybody's gonna have a comment. So why don't I just start and move down the table, that way everybody gets to have a say.
Yeah, I've watched this money get kicked around and looked at for one project and the other, and I hate seeing us lose the money, but more importantly, if we let this grant money go again, it's also going to have an impact on our ability to get future grants too. So we need to be able to demonstrate to the grant funders who are providing grants that we do have projects that we can utilize for and we know how to use their money. If we keep dropping the ball on these
Larry,
grants,
that's
it's
a
gonna
great
hurt
fiscal
us.
comment. That really is. And it isn't even one that I considered. But there is a reputation component to this. And
Absolutely.
again, I didn't consider it when I even decided that I was going to hedge in that direction. But thank you for that. And it was Tony?
Yeah. I was just wondering if there's a proposal on a start date, if you knew, and a projection of how long it would be and who might be the contractor for it, if you knew.
I truly know none of those, other than all of the hard legwork is already done, meaning the engineering, the contact with MDOT, because it meets M15.
Yeah.
And all these different things that tend to make a project last long are done. So it's my opinion that if the council approves this today, it's just going to be a matter of a few phone calls to get a bid out and get, they probably already know who they're going to bid it to. I don't know. But it would probably begin in, right, it'll begin very, very soon and be completed very, very soon. And so, like I say, the hard work's, the lengthy, time-consuming work has been done. But it's just, it's money we got to approve to spend or kick it and use it somewhere else. But thank you for that. Melanie?
Yeah, and I want to reemphasize what Larry said. That was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because we have not been very good with, between the concession stand and this. But I also want to clarify something, though. When the small urban grant first came up, and every 3 years, our village gets the opportunity to get some of these funds. And I think there's 5 areas that are in this particular group. It's like Groveland, us, smaller. But Oakwood was approved, and there was a portion that, and just to clarify, the reason that we all decided not to is because we had to do eminent domain in some of the residents' front yards, and Ryan went house to house, and some people were fine and others were. So that is kind of why it was like, okay, now we have to move it from there. So it's been kicked around, but, and we just found out how much, if first of all, if we were still approved for it, and how much it was, I think, a couple weeks ago. So we were trying to get that answer, and the village manager just could not get the answer if the grant money was still ours. So
He told me Thursday it was.
yeah, so we recently got that, so, we haven't waited a long time since finding that out. He's been just trying to find that out. But I just wanted to clarify that. That is all.
Thank you very much. Alex, this is kind of a new thing to you because luckily for you, you didn't have to be part of the earlier discussions.
No, but I have been, I've had my ear to the ground here in the village for a little while, so I have heard about some of the things that have happened. I think Tony really asked the main questions I had about timing and when we get started. My thing is I use that road. If I'm coming northbound on M15, I would use that road 100% of the time to get into the village. So it is something that needs to be fixed.
I'd like to horseback on something you just said, because when I spoke with the village manager about this, he was truly 50-50. He didn't know. But I think he was hedging against it, and he said, that road never gets used.
Yeah, he wanted
And
to close it, I thought.
I did want to say this to him, because
Yes.
I go down that road 2, if not 3 times a day, because I'm either coming into town, and I use that to go
Yeah.
out of town.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to, but I go out there, and then there's a turn lane. So as long as there isn't northbound traffic, which there never is in the morning, you can just pull up, stop, make sure that nobody's in that lane, and merge into traffic.
And if the light at Mill is red, it's easy to get out.
Of course it is. So I didn't want to say, listen, I use it 3 times a day. Hence, one of my reasons for being in favor of this project. But I didn't even want that to be a factor. But it's the truth of the matter as well. And I think it gets used a lot, coming and going. So because it is something people see coming into the village, and again, to piggyback on
And with the
yours, it's
wayfinding
just a-
projects, that's where we.
Signage could be,
that-
things like
but-
that.
And that is where we have one of the markers to put signage. We were trying to get them off there sooner than coming up to the light to make that
Yeah.
right, so.
Especially since there's no turn lane
Yes.
at Mill
Yeah, so
Street
that
either.
was part of the whole wayfinding too, but then I heard maybe it was gonna
I
close.
never
Who knows?
encourage any people to break the law ever, but if a turn lane couldn't be used for that purpose, that McDonald's would have closed down years ago. Because that's the only way out of McDonald's, is to make sure there's no northbound, get into the turn lane and merge in when you see a break. So, again, I looked it up in the Motor Vehicle Code, Public Act 300, and that is actually not what that lane's for. But
That's okay.
You blatantly.
yeah, there's many, but
I like it.
I won't write myself a ticket for that.
that's
So,
funny.
anything else you wanted to add, Alex?
No, sir.
Okay, Kay.
The only thing I want to say is, I know the project, it changed for that particular reason that Melanie mentioned, but I believe that our village manager is so on top of things that this project, I know Rose chomping at the bit to get going on it. So, with those two forces, I just believe it's gonna be, looked after and taken care of right away, and that will be,
Yeah. we'll keep-
something positive
No,
we can
we-
share
we
with
can-
all the village residents.
At our June
to say,
meeting, we may have a
here's
ribbon cutting,
something
yeah.
we are doing, the
Mhm.
gentleman tonight said, the snow plowing, that's all he felt like he got for his, for his taxes.
Mhm.
But we are doing things, and we need to continue to do things that people will use and appreciate.
I agree,
That we do.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for the comments, and I realized this was gonna be something that, was gonna require some discussion. But there was a motion in support, and we've had discussion on it, and I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes. Well, we get to move that one off the agenda, and I'm just happy to see that it was a 6-0 vote, because it really was a tough one. And in our manager's mind, it could have went either direction, and I can see his point of view as well. So,
Yeah.
with that in mind, we are diligently doing what our duty is. Takes us to the village manager's report. I would refer down to, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, doggone it.
He's in
I
Killarney
kind of-
probably,
Yeah,
huh?
he's in Killarney, all right. Actually, he said he was going to Tipperary, and I said, it's a long way. Yeah, I know. Stop it, please stop it.
Yeah.
Manager's report, I have some things to update you on, and they're just things that he passed along to me. So you're hearing it secondhand, and I will just be try to be as accurate as he was when he was explaining it to me. Sue's 90-day review. Sue is in our office now. I see her from time to time. I think she's doing a marvelous job. I'm not really sure why this is on the agenda, though, because is it something that we vote on to make this? No, we're not voting on it. It's in the manager's report. It's just something for him to let us be aware that she's got 90 days in. So there's no action to be required, other than, I think she's doing great, and I'd like her to hang around for.
Now, did he want input? Because usually the village manager does that review. So was he
He already
asking?
did it.
He already did it.
Yep.
Okay,
It's
and
just
so,
letting you know that her 90 days are
Okay.
in, and we're keeping her because we like her.
Okay,
She
all right.
said her job.
No, he told me.
Thank you.
That was the same version he gave me, but he didn't quite say that there was nothing for us to take action on.
all right.
I guess he wanted the rest of us to know that. The DPW bathroom, he did tell me that project, which we approved quite some time ago, and
Years.
Mm-hmm. 2 years ago,
has money
10,000.
applied to that project, and they've got bids, and they know just what they're gonna do.
Awesome.
And they're
Very
gonna
good.
I thought they had already begun on it, but they
No.
haven't yet. But it's gonna contain a stall and a urinal for whatever sex happens to be in there, or for whatever reason it needs to be. But the sinks are gonna be designed in a way that DPW guys tend to have a lot of grease and oil on their hands quite often. So there'll be sinks and things where you can, like in a doctor's office, where you won't have to get
Oh, good.
all your.
Motion and.
All your.
Yep.
All your messy hands on
over.
anything. You can go
Lovely.
there and wash your
Yeah, do
hands
the
with,
motion.
with the Gojo soap and get your hot water and your cold water in a sink that's easy to clean. And that the floor is gonna be whatever, some kind of pretty ceramic something. So that project is approved, designed, ready to build, and I don't even think they were holding off on this, on us voting on anything. It
No,
was just
we
a
already
matter of,
did,
it was just a
yeah.
matter of,
Yep.
he was just letting me know to let you know that that's gonna be done here
That's
really
wonderful.
soon. Office flooring. He mentioned this to me a month or so ago, but he actually spent a Saturday and a couple of weekdays in the office building shelves in the very, very back room where we can keep records, because apparently we've had them stored everywhere in every place and in every nook and cranny within that building. And he's in a mode of reorganizing and categorizing the things we need to keep and then shredding the things we don't, which I understand the paper shredder has been working overtime with the things that have been getting shredded, but that's part of getting organized. He also suggested that the carpet in that place is horrible, it's old, nobody can even tell us when that was done. What his idea was to, from the, call it from the copy room's back, tear up the carpet and put in, not wood flooring, but some,
Plank,
let's snap in.
LVL laminate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
the
some
laminate
sort of
plank.
laminate hard floor.
Yep.
From that point back, and then from that point forward, pulling up that carpet and going with these commercial industrial squares. And they, they're in a pattern and you zigzag them or you do whatever, but they're designed for public traffic. You see them in buildings all the time, and they look really, really nice. He showed me the 4 examples, and the one that fit best color was kind of a blue-gray spackle thing, I guess. And but the theory there is if the carpet ever gets damaged, you can just take up a square or 2 and have those replaced, and not have to, not have to redo the whole flooring. So he just wanted me to update you on that to make our building more updated.
So he's just getting quotes on that then to have that?
He didn't give me any dollar figures, so I'm sure that when he said that flooring that you mentioned, I don't even know what they call it, but.
Luxury vinyl plank, the
Yep.
LVL.
Yeah, okay, there you go, LVL,
Yep.
if anybody wanted to know.
Love it.
That takes us to D, and D is fireworks. This is a touchy issue now, and especially with the DDA. Apparently, we can't have our fireworks program as we usually do, which is at the high school, in the high school parking lot, because they have a bond issue and they're redoing their parking lots, and it doesn't conform with us using that during the July 3rd time period that we would have our fireworks.
Do you know if this is just a this year thing, or is this a from now on thing?
I'm hoping it's a for now on thing, because I would like to see it moved away from the high school, but that's just, that's my opinion as a DDA member.
Are there other locations in the area that would be good?
Yeah,
for
so
it?
I think Harvey Swanson works great.
Yeah.
Me and everybody thinks it works great, except the fire chief, because the canopy there is not quite big enough, and I'd say let's go out with a chainsaw one day and make the canopy big enough, or put a couple extra fire trucks nearby, because I think Harvey Swanson's a perfect location, because the whole theory was, it then would involve the whole village, and then the food trucks could be here in town. You could sit and watch them from this front porch. You would have so much more visibility, and it would become a village event, not a Brandon High School event or something way down in the township. So I am certainly in favor of Harvey Swanson, but Mr. Quapis is not in favor of it. And
Were there other
What?
suggestions for locations?
no, there are no other locations. The suggestions were, we're not having fireworks this year.
Oh.
So that's where we're at right now,
Who normally puts the front on and does the fireworks?
the DDA.
DDA.
Yeah, DDA puts it on. It was at our meeting, again, I'm all for Harvey Swanson parking lot.
So then they have not started fundraising or finding sponsors or anything
No, I think
because,
they do that anyway, because they're gonna do something, they just don't know what.
okay,
So whatever happens, there will be some celebration or some honor, we're gonna honor Fourth of July somehow, or the DDA will. Now, I heard a mention today, or yesterday, about this, some drone show that you could put on, and that costs, oh, man,
Thousands of
we could
dollars.
repave all of our streets for what this
We don't
drone
need a
show
drone show.
costs.
we got
I love drones, I'm a drone operator.
There you
I love
go.
drones and
And I
noise.
saw some,
15
they,
minutes, you pay that kind of
if
money,
that,
that's.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fortune of money. I think that's, I would not be in favor of a drone show.
It is not
So
cost
we'll just
prohibitive at all.
have 4th of July, and we won't have fireworks because
Unless
there's.
we figure out how to get it. to
Ken, I
ours.
got a question for you. You're talking about, because the fireworks aren't launched from the parking lot, they're launched in the field area. Are they talking about they can't use the field for the normal food truck events, or they can't do the fireworks, period? I'm a little
They
confused.
can't do the fireworks, period.
Oh,
You said the word
just
paving
because the
is for
parking lot is being paved?
Well, I would think they have to get back there. Yeah, so they have to drive back there to even set up. the
Oh,
Talk
fireworks.
okay,
with the
so they won't be able to have
superintendent, the
access to
timing-
go
Yeah.
set
The
that up.
timing of when they
Okay,
were
I
gonna
got
do it
now.
could have worked out, but the thing about fireworks and any type of event like this is, if you can't plan ahead of time, then you can't do it
Yeah.
willy-nilly last minute.
No.
So.
Yeah, if they can't get back there to set up the
Right.
fireworks, then we can't have
Yeah,
them.
you have to have a
That's
fire
kind of it.
truck and everything on
I
hand.
also know
yeah.
that the food trucks weren't happy about the fact that once they got in there, they kind of had a captive audience. If you weren't watching from there, you weren't going to go to a food truck.
Right.
So you had zero accessibility of anybody who was along M15.
Yeah.
The people at the tire store, the people at Meach's, the people at the Ford dealer.
Oh,
the
there's a
people-
lot of people who walk back and forth to
Oh,
get
yeah.
to
Well,
food trucks.
but-
I
but
saw
I
that
think-
as a cert person, lots
I
of people
do
going
think
back and
that
forth.
the food trucks suffer because of accessibility when they're way back in there at the high school.
Yeah.
Because you do have a hike if you
Yeah,
want to
you
go
do
visit.
have to be mobile
Have a
enough
hike.
to,
So,
and the desire to go
I,
and do that.
I wasn't
so.
really in
Saying
favor of that
just
location in the
heat
first
just
place
beating
because.
down on you, 'cause there's
Yeah.
no shade whatsoever.
So,
Yes, when we first moved here, they were at Harvey Swanson. They were in that area.
he'd be the guy to know.
They were in that area.
Okay.
Okay, can't we move him back?
The, back when we did that, we started out, goes back a ways, into the late 70s. It was all 3-inch rounds. We made our own little tubes and shot them off, and we did it
Oh,
ourselves.
boy.
Okay.
Oh, so they didn't have the
No.
5 and 6 inchers?
Yeah.
No. And as time went by, we kept increasing the type of fireworks to get them higher.
Yep.
So
Right.
when you get them higher, then that.
The drop
plume
zone
gets
is larger,
much
yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
And we got it to the point where we couldn't shoot off the big 6-inch, 7-inch. We did a 10-inch back there once. We probably won't be able to do that again. We did a 10-inch
Fine,
I
you just
remember
need
that
a
one. They
couple
had to
ex-
dig
you
a
just need a
pit for
couple
that
extra
one.
fire trucks on standby.
And that's the problem, and the code has got stricter on that. Every year it gets tighter on those distances to do them, and you could probably find a place at Harvey Swanson to shoot them off, but just, it's gonna be those little 3-inch jobs that go 100 feet in the air, and, you know, the people that are right there can enjoy the heck.
Right, but it won't go over the tree line.
No.
So even if it was moved back there, it wouldn't be the same type of fireworks show we're used to. We just cannot do that size there.
We had issues even at, we ended up helping finance the roof at the middle school.
Oh, yeah.
Bad wind direction.
Yeah.
And they kept shooting them, and we're up there, but it put little burn marks in that tire up on the roof of the middle school that wasn't very old.
Yeah.
And they weren't real happy about that. But that's part of the problem.
Was that lately?
No, he's going way back.
No, when it was at Harvey
Back when the
Swanson.
building was built, this is
Yeah.
back some time ago, but now now those fireworks, they go way back into the woods there at the middle school, so
Mhm.
they get real comfortable with that distance of where it's at. Yeah, that's been burned off for years and years, that those fireworks we knew was coming to an end
Mhm.
at some point in the village. You know, in the township's not much better, you know, you got a big park out there, it's
Yeah,
beautiful to do it, no parking.
Nope,
Mm-hmm.
not for
They
those
got
crowds.
problems with people complaining of parking, Oakwood Road and Wojo's would be full.
Yeah.
Right, because
Cross there.
when they do it at Groveland Parks, people just park on Dixie alongside of the roads and what, you know.
You ever try to park along Dixie or on?
I
Main
have.
Road?
I have done that.
They ran
Oh, my
out
gosh.
I have done that.
By state police over there.
Yeah,
They patrol that and they.
But- I'm just saying that I can see that that's what would happen at Hadley.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it happens on 15. It's awesome. I don't know if you've ever been right in the mix of all that down there. It is awesome, the amount of people that sit there and watch that is.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
Last year, we had people just driving up onto the grass in front of the school because there was no parking in the lots, no parking on the street, no parking anywhere. Yeah, literally, they were pulling up the
I
hill
believe
and
it.
just parking.
I believe this.
And I'm like, well, I'm not law enforcement, I'm just directing traffic, here's a certain
Just the
person.
vision.
with pickup trucks with pop and popcorn in the back, when the department was quite small. And we made quite a bit of money selling popcorn and pop
Yeah.
out of pickup trucks.
Yeah.
Driving around.
Well, Bob, I do remember those old days. My dad was around then, and,
Not believe what it used to be like to shoot them fireworks off.
well, I'm sure those are stories that, some of them you can't say in public. Or let's just say the statute of limitations has run out on a lot of that, so.
And Bob has all his digits,
Good-
therefore he.
good- Yeah, I know some
he
people that don't.
survived. Yep,
Okay.
that's a scary.
And that was on here just for an update, and once again, the fireworks and that entire event is a DDA
Right.
thing that
That's a bummer.
we really have little control over, except input if you happen to be on a committee, and we might have to approve something once it gets past them. But I know that they're in a quandary right now, trying to
Yeah, that's
decide,
a bummer.
what, if anything, to do. But I will echo your point, is that drone show is probably not worth the money,
Not for it.
and,
People are not gonna come out and try to find a place to park for 15 minutes.
well,
You know,
It's not the same.
It's just not the same.
You're not feeling and hearing the big booms. and It's not the same.
it's not the same
And it's not
experience,
cost
but-
prohibitive.
And, right, it's so damn expensive, I couldn't believe what they charge. More than the fireworks would have been, which, that's
Oh,
a big
gosh,
bill.
yeah.
I know.
Way more.
Okay.
It's a
so
good business.
That concludes the village manager report. It leads us to item 13.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Moved and supported, those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, this meeting is now over.
Thank you. Woo-hoo.